I'm Ryan O'Dowd, and you're listening to Ryan's Audiobooks on the Issues Magazine YouTube channel. Today we continue with Section 6.4, Prometheus Rising, Robert Anton Wilson. We're opening with Chapter 2, Hardware and Software, the Brain and its Programs. We as a species exist in a world in which exist a myriad of data points. Upon these matrices of points, we superimpose a structure, and the world makes sense to us. The pattern of the structure originates within our biological and sociological properties. Persinger and Lafreniere, space-time transients and unusual events. In our terminology, these data points are events or actions, i.e. verbs, not nouns. In our terminology, models or maps, static things, nouns, not verbs. In our terminology, brain hardware and software. We will, throughout this book, consider the human brain a kind of biocomputer, electro-colloidal computer, as distinct from the electronic or solid-state computers which exist outside our heads. Please note carefully and long remember that we have not said that the human brain is a computer. The Aristotelian idea that to understand something you must know what it is has been abandoned in one science after another, for the pragmatic reason that the simple word is introduces so many metaphysical assumptions that we can argue forever about them. In the most advanced sciences, such as mathematical physics, nobody talks about what anything is anymore. They talk about what model or map can best be used to understand whatever we're investigating. In general, this scientific habit of avoiding is can be profitably extended to all areas of thought. Thus, when you read anywhere that A is B, it will clarify matters if you translate this as A can be considered as or modeled by B. When we say A is B, we are saying that A is only what it appears within our field of study or our area of specialization. That's saying too much. When we say A can be considered as B or modeled by B, we are saying exactly as much as we have a right to say and no more. We therefore say that the brain can be considered as a computer, but we do not say that it is a computer. The brain appears to be made up of matter in electro-colloidal suspension, protoplasm. Colloids are pulled together towards a condition of gel by their surface tensions. This is because surface tensions pull all glue-like substances together. Colloids are also conversely pushed apart toward a condition of soul by their electrical charges. This is because their electrical charges are similar, and similar electrical charges always repel each other. In the equilibrium between gel and soul, the colloidal suspension maintains its continuity and life continues. Move the suspension too far toward gel or too far toward soul, and life ends. Any chemical that gets into the brain changes the gel-soul balance, and consciousness is accordingly influenced. Thus, potatoes are, like LSD, psychedelic, in a milder way. The changes in consciousness when one moves from a vegetable diet to an omnivorous diet or vice versa are also psychedelic. Since what the thinker thinks, the prover proves, all of our ideas are psychedelic. Even without experimenting with diet or drugs, whatever you think you should see, you will see, unless it's physically impossible in this universe. All experience is a muddle, until we make a model to explain it. The model can clarify the muddles, but the model is never the muddle itself. The map is not the territory. The menu does not taste like the meal. Every computer consists of two aspects, known as hardware and software. Software here includes information. The hardware in a solid-state computer is concrete and localized, consisting of central processing unit, display, keyboard, external disk drive, CD-ROM, floppies, etc. All the parts you can drag into Radio Shack for repair if the computer is malfunctioning. The software consists of programs that can exist in many forms, including the totally abstract. A program can be in the computer in the sense that it is recorded on the CPU or on a disk which is hitched up into the computer. A program can also exist on a piece of paper, if I invented it myself or in a manual, if it is a standard program. In these cases, it is not in the computer, but can be put in at any time. But a program can be even more tenuous than that. If I can exist only in my head, if I have never written it down, or if I've used it once and erase it. The hardware is more real than the software in that you can always locate it in space-time. If it's not in the bedroom, somebody must have moved it to the study, etc. On the other hand, the software is more real in the sense that you can smash the hardware back to dust, kill the computer, and the software still exists, and can materialize or manifest again in a different computer. Any speculations about reincarnation at this point are the responsibility of the reader, not the author. And speaking of the human brain as an electrocolloidal biocomputer, we all know where the hardware is. It's inside the human skull. The software, however, seems to be anywhere and everywhere. For instance, the software in my brain also exists outside my brain, in such forms as, say, a book I read 20 years ago, which was an English translation of various signals transmitted by Plato 2,400 years ago. Other parts of my software are made up of the software of Confucius, James Joyce, my second grade teacher, the Three Stooges, Beethoven, my mother and father, Richard Nixon, my various dogs and cats, Dr. Carl Sagan, and anybody and to some extent anything that's ever impacted upon my brain. This may sound strange, but that's the way software or information functions. Of course, if consciousness consisted of nothing but this undifferentiated tapioca of timeless, spaceless software, we would have no individuality, no center, and no self. We want to know then how out of this universal software ocean a specific person emerges. What the thinker thinks, the prover proves. Because the human brain, like other animal brains, acts as an electrocolloidal computer, not a solid-state computer. It follows the same laws as other animal brains. That is, the programs get into the brain as electrochemical bonds in discrete quantum stages. Each set of programs consists of 4 basic parts. 1. Genetic imperatives, totally hardwired programs or instincts. 2. Imprints. These are more or less hardwired programs, which the brain is genetically designed to accept only at certain points in its development. These points are known in ethology as times of imprint vulnerability. 3. Conditioning. These are programs built onto the imprints. They are looser and fairly easy to change with counter-conditioning. 4. Learning. This is even looser and softer than conditioning. In general, the primordial imprint can always overrule any subsequent conditioning or learning. An imprint is a series of software that has become built-in hardware, being impressed on the tender neurons when they are peculiarly open and vulnerable. Imprints, software frozen into hardware, are the non-negotiable aspects of our individuality. Out of the infinity of possible programs existing as potential software, the imprint establishes the limits, perimeters within which all subsequent conditioning and learning occurs. Your hardware is localized, brain cells right here, right now. Your software is non-local, point events everywhere, every when. Before the first imprint, the consciousness of the infant is formless and void, like the universe at the beginning of Genesis or the descriptions of the unconditioned, consciousness in the mystic traditions. As soon as the first imprint is made, structure emerges out of the creative void. The growing mind, alas, becomes trapped within the structure. It identifies with the structure. In a sense, it becomes the structure. This entire process is analyzed in G. Spencer Brown's Laws of Form, and Brown was writing about the foundations of mathematics and logic. But every sensitive reader knows that Brown is also talking about a process we've all passed through in creating, out of an infinite ocean of signals, those particular constructs we call myself and my world. Not surprisingly, many acid heads have said that Brown's math is the best description ever written of an LSD trip. Each successive imprint complicates the software, which programs our experience, and which we experience as reality. Conditioning and learning build further networks onto this bedrock of imprinted software. The total structure of this brain circuitry makes up our map of the world. It's what our thinker thinks and our prover mechanically fits all incoming signals to the limitations of this map. Following Dr. Timothy Leary with a few modifications, we shall divide this brain hardware into 8 circuits for convenience. For convenience means that this is the best map I know at present. I assume it will be replaced by a better map within 10 or 15 years. In any case, the map is not the territory. 4 of the circuits are antique and conservative. They exist in everybody except feral children. 1. The oral biosurvival circuit. This is imprinted by the mother or the first mothering object and conditioned by subsequent nourishment or threat. It's primarily concerned with sucking, feeding, cuddling, and bodily security. It retreats mechanically from the noxious or predatory, or from anything associated by imprinting or conditioning with the noxious or predatory. 2. The anal emotional territorial circuit. This is imprinted in the toddling stage when the infant rises up, walks about, and begins to struggle for power within the family structure. This mostly mammalian circuit processes territorial rules, emotional games, or cons, pecking order, and rituals of domination or submission. 3. The time-binding semantic circuit. This is imprinted and conditioned by human artifacts and symbol systems. It handles and packages the environment, classifying everything according to the local reality tunnel. Invention, calculation, prediction, and transmitting signals across generations are its functions. 4. The moral socio-sexual circuit. This is imprinted by the first orgasm mating experience at puberty and is conditioned by tribal taboos. It processes sexual pleasure, local definitions of right and wrong, reproduction, adult parental personality, and nurture of the young. The development of these circuits as the brain evolved through evolution, and as each domesticated primate brain recapitulates evolution in growing from infancy to adulthood, makes possible gene pool survival, mammalian sociobiology, pecking order and politics, and transmission of culture. The second group of 4 brain circuits is much newer, and each circuit exists at present only in minorities. Where the antique circuits recapitulate evolution to the present, these futuristic circuits precapitulate our future evolution. 5. The holistic neurosomatic circuit. This is imprinted by ecstatic experience via biological or chemical yogas. It processes neurosomatic feedback loops, somatic sensory bliss, feeling high, faith feeling, etc. Christian Science, NLP, and holistic medicine consist of tricks or gimmicks to get this circuit into action, at least temporarily. Tantra Yoga is concerned with shifting consciousness entirely into this circuit. 6. The collective neurogenetic circuit. This is imprinted by advanced yogas, biochemical electrical stresses. It processes DNA, RNA, brain feedback systems, and is collective in that it contains and has access to the whole evolutionary script, past and future. Experience of this circuit is numinous, mystical, mind-shattering. Here dwells the archetype of Jung's collective unconscious. Gods, goddesses, demons, hairy dwarfs, and other personifications of the DNA programs that govern us. 7. The metaprogramming circuit. This is imprinted by very advanced yogas. It consists in modern terms of cybernetic consciousness, reprogramming and reimprinting all other circuits, even reprogramming itself, making possible conscious choice between alternative universes or reality tunnels. 8. The non-local quantum circuit. This is imprinted by shock, by near-death or clinical death experience, by OOBEs, out-of-body experiences, by trans-time perceptions, precognition, by trans-space visions, ESP. It tunes the brain into the non-local quantum communication system suggested by physicists such as Bohm, Walker, Safadi, Bell, etc. These circuits will be explained in detail as we proceed. Exercises. 1. If you don't already have a computer, run out and buy one, then reread this chapter. 2. To understand hardware and software as applied to the human brain, perform the following meditation. Sit in a room where you will not be disturbed for half hour and begin thinking, I am sitting in this room doing this exercise because, and list as many of the causes as you can think of. For instance, you are doing this exercise because obviously you read about it in this book. Why did you buy this book? Did somebody recommend it? How did that person come into your life? If you just picked up the book in a store, why did you happen to be in just that store on just that day? Why do you read books of this sort on psychology, consciousness, evolution? How did you get interested in these fields? Who turned you on and how long ago? What factors in your childhood inclined you to be interested in these subjects later? Why are you doing this exercise in this room and not elsewhere? Why did you buy or rent this house or apartment? Why are you in this city and not another? Why on this continent and not another? Why are you here at all? That is, how did your parents meet? Did they consciously decide to have a child? Do you happen to know, or were you an accident? What cities were they born in? If in different cities, why did they move in space-time so that their paths would intersect? Why is this planet capable of supporting life, and why did it produce the kind of life that would dream up an exercise of this sort? Repeat this exercise a few days later, trying to ask and answer 50 questions you didn't think of the first time. No, you can never ask all possible questions. Avoid all metaphysical speculations. e.g. karma, reincarnation, destiny, etc. The point of the exercise will be mind-blowing enough without introducing occult theories. It'll be more startling if you carefully avoid such overtly mystical speculations. 3. Pick up any household item. A spoon, a pan, a cup, etc. Perform the same exercise as above. Why is it here? Who invented it, if you could find out? How did the invention get to this continent? Who manufactured it? Why did they manufacture that instead of bird cages? Why did they become manufacturers instead of musicians? Why did you buy it? Why did you pick that object of all objects in the house for this meditation? Answer quickly now. Are you your hardware or your software? Or both? Thus concludes section 6.4 of Prometheus Rising by Robert Anton Wilson. Tomorrow we'll continue with 6.5, Chapter 3, the Oral Biosurvival Circuit. I will see you then. Alam.